Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So here I got a video today that I am excited to make, and that is because there is an alpha Project Gotham Racing for Recomp out today. But I want to start off the video explaining something very clearly. The developer Trixie has stated that this is alpha, it still has a ton of bugs, and it really isn't ready for prime time. So don't download this and expect to get a perfect recomp of Project Gotham Racing 4. That is not what this video is about. And a lot of people seem to think that there's no reason to test these versions until they're buttoned up, and I couldn't stress enough just how different I feel about that. People playing, issuing bug reports on GitHub are going to make a better recomp of one of the best racing games on the Xbox 360. And every single time I talk about different 360 recomps, one of the games that always comes up is Project Gotham Racing. I remember playing this back in the day, and even though it's been some years since I've checked it out, I remember loving it and still had a ton of fun with it here today. And honestly, racing recomps are some of my favorite genres to get recomps in, because it just takes a great thing and makes it even better, as we've seen on the channel recently with some of the other recomps like Rage Racer on PlayStation 1. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. Now if you've never played Project Gotham Racing 4, it kind of straddles the line between an arcade game and a full sim game. It's not going to be as simmy as something like Gran Turismo, but it is closer to a Gran Turismo than something like an Outrun 2 from Sega or a Ridge Racer from Namco. And I actually really like that because this game is all-encompassing, has a ton of fun different campaign modes and challenges, and really gives you a metric crap ton of content for your quote-unquote money on this one, and of course a recomp, not really changing much hands to play around with it. And just so you know, this is recompiling the PowerPC portion of the 360 executable, and I did read that they're planning on native renderer support in the future because, again, this is just an alpha. The GitHub says it's going to be buggy and not perfect, and that's exactly what you're going to be seeing in the footage. Yes, it's running. Yes, it looks like Project Gotham Racing 4. There might still be a graphical glitch here and there, but honestly, it's basically doing the exact same thing as you would expect any other alpha to do. And in the future, that will definitely improve. You'll get higher frame rates, a lot of quality of life improvements, and everything else you could possibly want out of something like Project Gotham Racing 4. But for the time being, temper your expectations, think of this as a trial or a test, and you can't be disappointed. And honestly, playing around with the recomp, I was reminded that it's probably time to sit down with my 360, pop in my copy of Project Gotham Racing 4, and then actually replay through the entire thing again, because this is just basically the perfect combination between both arcade and sim racing game all in one. And remembering how the entire career progression worked and everything else, I was just reminded how much time I spent with this game when it did come out, and it is time for a revisit. So as far as the recomp is concerned, definitely has two bonuses right now compared to emulating actually on something like Xenia. One, it takes a lot less system resources because the PowerPC portion is already statically recompiled versus having to emulate that chip on your actual hardware. And two, it just means that in the future we're going to be getting even better performance, and that is something I absolutely love. Getting a higher internal running resolution, getting a higher frame rate, those things would make this game feel even smoother. And if I'm not great at driving right now, remember it's probably been like 10-15 years since I actually played this game. I'm not even sure why I haven't revisited it yet. Playing around for this recomp definitely told me I've been way delayed on actually taking a second look at it. But as far as the graphics are concerned, yes, it's using Xenia underpinning it right now until it gets to that native renderer, but for like 95% of the game feels pretty buttoned up. Every once in a while you might see a polygon just completely clip in from the distance and have no texture on it whatsoever, but other than that, I don't really see anything that makes it seem like it isn't working correctly visually. Now this recomp is definitely going to crash here and there as well, as the GitHub repo totally states. But I mentioned previously on the channel, this is kind of my favorite thing. I love looking at projects when they're in still active development. There's something about how things get made that's always entertained me more than the actual finished product. And I know a lot of people have been waiting for this, and a lot of people would love to bug test it and do those GitHub issue tickets. So if you do play this one and you find an issue, definitely open up a ticket and then go ahead and explain exactly what went wrong, and if you have any photographic evidence, it always helps, because developers working on these things are in a vacuum, and when people test, thousands of them, they find things that the developers never notice, and you help them actually improve it. But let's do a soundtrack sample so you can get an idea of the audio quality in this recomp, and I'll be right back with a lot more Project Gotham Racing 4. So definitely sounds like Project Gotham Racing 4 to me, but you leave me a comment down below and you tell me what you think. Now moving on to the motorcycle sections, I was reminded that this was my least favorite part of the game, not because it's not fun, but when you jump from a car directly to a motorcycle, it does take about 30 seconds to a minute to actually pivot up your brain to understand exactly how the physics are similar and are different. And I will come back to this section later on in the video, but again, the nighttime view here with all the graphics seems to be pretty much buttoned up. And really this thing needs more stability and more graphic fixes before I would say it's probably time to actually sit down and start playing it, because sometimes in between races, never in a race, it would not load up the next race and it would end up crashing out. The nice thing is it does save your progress before that happens, so you are in a situation if you do want to test, you're not really going to be losing any of your progress in the game. You're just going to have to double click the bat file to launch it again. And I will say this one is a little bit more intense on the setup process. You have to take your legally owned copy of Project Gotham Racing 4, you then need to extract that ISO, and then use the bat file that launches the game and copy and paste in the actual directory of where you have those files stored. It is not going to ingest the disk for you at this point in time. Now of course that will change in the future because this is an alpha. It really isn't designed for user friendliness. It's designed to get up and running and start testing and understand what is working, what isn't working, and what needs to be improved. But if you can copy and paste a file from one place to another, and if you can basically copy and paste where a directory lives in the hierarchy of your hard drive into basically what amounts to a text file, you will be good to go on this one. And if you do want to test it and you get a little confused, pop over to my Discord. I'll make sure the link in the description works this time because I hate Discord links, and I will make sure that you guys get some help there. I'll just pin something to tell you how to play it, because this is definitely one I want more people to check out. I want the developer to be super successful on this one, so we all get a perfect Project Gotham Racing for Recomp. And for those of you that care and those of you that don't, you get the exact same information. I went through the repo. There's only one contributor listed as the developer. I went through some of the code and didn't see any telltale signs of Johnny 5 usage. Now, of course, I just go with the information in front of me, and sometimes that does change after the video is live, but at this point in time, I only see one contributor, and it is a human. Well, honestly, I've never actually talked to the developer in real life, so it could be a Johnny 5 just pretending. And all jokes aside, that's not what I'm going on with here. I'm just making a joke. As we jump into the next race, again, it is impressive how well this works, even though it is just that alpha. If it wasn't for the few graphical glitches, and it wasn't for the few freezes, I would say it's an extremely competent way to play Project Gotham Racing 4. But we don't just want competency, we want a scenario in which we can bump the internal rendering resolution, and we can definitely get a higher frame rate, because I think that would benefit the game. But let's do one more soundtrack sample so you can catch the vibes of the engine noises again, and I'll be back and talk a little bit more about the GitHub repo and why you should test this one today, and more about how you can. Definitely sounds exactly like it should to my ears. So there's the thing about testing these sort of in-progress decompilations, recompilations, or PC ports. A lot of people, when they have an issue, they leave it in my comments, and I say you should go over to GitHub and open up that issue ticket, and a lot of people say they just aren't going to do that. If you're going to test these things, trust me, spend the extra 60 seconds to go into GitHub, open up a ticket, give information, because that is how these things actually progress. If you don't have a GitHub account, it takes about 30 seconds to sign up for one, and then from there you can basically just report any issues you find. My only advice is definitely look at the open tickets first to make sure you're not reporting something that already exists. If you're going to say crashes between level X and Y and there's already 3 reports for that, you don't need a 4th. But do me that favor, do the developers that favor. If you're going to test this, if you're going to bug hunt for it, then don't just leave the bug reports in my comments, because that means the developers have to go through and read an entire page of comments to try to parse out what people are actually experiencing. Go over to GitHub and open that ticket, because I want to live in a world where we have a perfect Project Gotham Racing 4 recomp for Xbox 360 with a native renderer, better frame rates, and better resolution. We can definitely live in that world. It's just going to take some time. But even though this one is still an alpha, even though the GitHub says it is going to be a little bit rickety, this might be my most exciting recomp to talk about this month, because I absolutely love racing games, and you guys know that. Well, leave me a comment down below and you tell me, now that we know that Project Gotham Racing 4 has a recomp in development, which game would you love to see from the Xbox 360 come over next? For me, it would be a good frame rate Splatterhouse. But short of that, we are done. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.